How's it going, everyone? Sethphir here, and today I wanted to sit down and take the time to offer my 25 tips on what I think every new player should know, and things that I feel will help you going into this game to put you in a better position so that you don't miss out, so that you don't make these common and easy mistakes, and so that you take advantage of every gain and resource that you could possibly get along the way. So we'll go ahead and break these down into a few sections and kind of give you an update on the things that I learned and the things that I wish that I kind of knew before I started playing this game and before I was while I was leveling and once I hit the end game, because I made tons of mistakes that kind of made me have to backtrack. They cost me time, they cost me energy, they cost me gold and resources, and so I wanted to share all of these with you guys so that hopefully it will help you along the way and you will be better off for it. So let's go ahead and jump right into those. Did you know that you can have a double buff of food? When I eat a food buff here, you can see that if I mouse over my buff, I have a healing 1% of max health every 2.5 seconds for eating the basic food, which is just the normal meals, right? When you use a trade skill food after that, you will receive a second buff for regeneration. So here we'll use our mining luck 100, which is a very simple, or 1000, which is a very simple recipe that anyone can make with potatoes, butter, and I believe milk. So here we will use the buff, and as you can see, we have a secondary 1% HP recovery every 2.5 seconds. So the key to this is getting a buff that lasts a longer period of time and another one. So using these low-level trade skill foods will allow you to recover 2% of your maximum health every 2.5 seconds, which is quite a significant increase. Your territory standing is an important resource that is generated whenever you do something in a given area. In addition to that, completing town boards gives a significant boost to territory standing bonus. You can only get a finite amount of territory standing points, as I am level 60 and I have pretty much reached the late part of the game. I only have 49 territory standing in Everfall, and I don't think it will get that much higher, as it does require me to go out and tediously do town boards, and many of them at that, just to gain the next point of level. It seems to be getting harder and harder as time goes on. We originally thought the cap was 300 territory standing points, which is true, but reaching that cap may be nearly impossible. So choosing your territory points wisely is going to be very important. You have tons of things to choose from, like XP, storage, even territory standing itself, gathering speed, and things like that. So make sure to check out my guide on the channel for a full breakdown on what you should actually use and what you should avoid. And be cautious, because this is not something that can be respect, it is something that is permanent. So choose wisely on that. Check out the guide, I highly recommend it. It will avoid you a lot of late game mistakes. Town boards can be a great source of experience while leveling, and is probably the best way to level in this game currently. There is also something that you can do with town boards later once you hit level 60 that will allow you to power level your professions using the town boards. So quests like this weaponsmithing icon will give me experience for leveling, but it will also give me experience for the weaponsmithing category. And I have never crafted a single weapon or armor outside of town boards, and I'm already about halfway to max level, maybe even a little over with these things. So if you're level 60, utilizing these quests can be really great, as they are cheap on resources and give you tons of XP yield. And if you're doing it while you're leveling up, it's even better. We do have a full guide that goes into depth on which town boards are great, but a quick summary is, when it asks you to turn in potion, that's generally a good town board. If it asks you to create an item, like a weapon or an armor, that is a great town board. But material sinks, such as like ingots, like this would be iron if you were leveling up instead of orichalcum, those are generally not as good, as the XP reward is not as high, and it requires quite a lot of that resource. You do not want to sap yourself dry of those. So remember to create armor and weapons and town board items like that, and turn in potions. Generally, exploring quests are not worth as they are pretty far out, but you can take them if you need to go to an area and they just happen to be along your way. A lot of the fishing quests are most likely not worth, and the animal kill quests are also not as worth unless you happen to know that you're going directly to an area where you can get those in. The best kinds are things like turn-ins for nightcrawler baits, turn-ins for feathers and flint, as they are very easy to pick up and you can just gather them and bring them directly to the town board and get free XP. And a lot of times you just have a nice stockpile on you anyway, so you just instantly turn them in and complete them. So these are a few things to keep an eye out for with town boards. When it comes to game settings, there are a few important ones to have on, and although all these values can be adjusted to your personal preference, I would strongly recommend having the HUD always shows weapons on, as this will make things a bit smoother for you and you will see access to both your skills cooldowns, even when that's not the weapon that you have out particularly at this moment. I would also recommend showing extra ability cooldowns, as it will give you a little indicator when you use a skill in front of your screen, exactly like this. As you can see below my bar right here, or above my bar, you can see that I have my skill on cooldown and it's going to count that down for me. So it's just additional information to track things. The other setting that I would recommend is going to come from the visuals section, and this would be the field of view area. So if your field of view is higher, you will be able to zoom out exactly like I have, and that will allow you to see a better point of view of everything going on around you. Normally you are much more zoomed in, so I would take the time to sit there and adjust these settings. Did you know that you can sort your inventory by different categories? Up at the top right, there is a weight sort category, as well as a gear score sort category, which is particularly useful because you are able to see the highest gear score items that you have found to know if you have found anything good. And this will be a great indicator to help you find all of that loot in your bags, especially when things gets cluttered and you can determine what is actually good from what is trash. There's also a sort by tier, which just simply sorts by the rarity in the top left, so all these items being tier 5, and then the items being tier 4 get sorted down to the bottom. So make sure to make use of these awesome sorting functions to save yourself some time from looking around in your inventory, wandering around for hours. You can also send gold to anyone, anywhere, at any time for free. If I were to hit this button, give coin, down at the bottom in the inventory menu, I can simply type out someone's name and their name will pop up and auto-complete if I have spelled it correctly in the correct capitalization, and that's how you will know it is the right person. You can type any amount you wish to give here, so if I wanted to, I could donate all my gold to someone, and if you click on the other tab on the right, you can simply donate to your company or your guild's treasury directly. Attribute thresholds can be very powerful. When you reach certain milestones like 50, 100, 150, and so on, you unlock certain bonuses. So getting your stats balanced based around that can be very good, especially when you get towards the end game, as you can unlock quite some powerful bonuses, like in the strength category of having your light and heavy attacks have grit on them, which means they are uninterruptible unless it is a stun, and other things like the dex category having a guaranteed critical hit after a dodge roll. So make sure to pay attention to these milestones and the thresholds and balance your stats or gear appropriately along the way. This will come more into play when you hit the end game, as you will want to have 300 in one category and as high as you can go in a secondary category, but make sure to choose wisely in this regard. Did you know that there is a repair all button down at the bottom of the screen? It's very small and hard to see, but if you click this little button, you can repair all items that you have currently equipped. So I'm going to go ahead and do so, and as you can see, everything I have on is fully refreshed, repaired, and ready to go, so that saves you the time of repairing each piece individually. You can also do this with the inventory, so if you wanted to repair the items that you were going to sell on the auction house, you would then just simply hit this button and repair all into that category. Azoth Travel is determined by a few factors. And some of this is going to be distance and weight, as well as your controlling factions for the territory. So as you can see, if I want to travel from Reekwater to Ebonscale, it would cost me 44 Azoth at my current weight. Somewhere closer, like Windsward, would cost me 31. And a territory that I do not own, that may even be closer than that, would cost me more because I do not own it. I will not get these faction discounts. And as you mouse over the fast travel cost, you can see exactly what things are costing here. So you have a base cost, a distance cost, and then you have a encumbrance cost, which is determined by your weight. Then you have discounts that are based on either whether you own that territory or you own the forts. Some of the forts on the map give things like lower fast travel weight costs just for claiming the fort. And remember that the fort is separate from the actual town. So you don't have to own the town or win the territory in order to claim the fort. You just simply have to go up and stand in the fort and claim it for yourself. So if I were to take a lot of weight, like this 4,700 Orichalcum ore, and increase it and put it into my bag, my fast travel cost would now be a lot more. It's now costing me 82 to get to Windsward and 95 to get to Ebonscale Reach. And if I were to go to a town that I don't own, it's going to cost me quite a lot at 149. So before you travel, make sure you put your stuff in your storage and salvage your items or weapons that you don't need from your farm that you just got done doing, so that your weight can be a lot less and your travel costs will not be as hurtful. Remember that Azoth is a precious resource and you will really miss it when you do not have it, as you will be forced to walk on foot from town to town without it. Some items can have special perks on them. If we take a look at this shield, for example, it has an effect called Fortifying Shield Rush, which alters the way that my skill works. So this would give me the ability when I hit something to gain Fortify, reducing the damage on myself for a duration. The effect does vary, and certain skills will be applied on certain things. You can get them on armor, you can get them on shields, and you can get them on weapons. And they will all modify your base talents. So there is a special skill for every talent. You can take a look and find out what that is on information resource websites like the New World Database, as you will be able to quickly scout around and see what kind of hidden bonus talents are available for each skill. Crafting items can be made with certain gear score range thresholds. You can increase these gear score range thresholds by adding more rare ingredients to the list. Instead of using iron ingots, I could use Fey Iron, which increases the gear score on the top right here and the potential range. Some increase the minimum, some increase the maximum, some do both. So if I were to go to Timber and put in something like this glittery ebony wood, it will increase it all the way up to a higher gear score, and I can keep adding in rare items if I wish to do so to increase that odds of that gear threshold being higher, up to a maximum and a minimum within the item's level range. And if I were to look at a higher level piece of gear, it would have a higher starting value and a higher maximum value. So the only other thing that you can do is you can add a special resource to hand pick or tailor the ability of an item. So if I wanted to add, I don't know, Frozen Ward to the item, I would guarantee ice resistance on this shield. If I were to add Azoth to the craft, I would increase the chance for a second perk to appear on the item and different attributes and bonuses to appear on that rolled item. So remember, you can handpick one stat or one special perk, and then you can use Azoth to increase the odds of that item appearing with multiple perks, thus increasing its rarity. Tuning orbs are a very important component in this game. You need tuning orbs to enter a late game dungeon. And as you can see here, the tuning orbs are quite expensive to make. They take tons of components that come from greater corrupted portal rifts, as well as the faction vendor and daily cooldown items. It also takes quite a bit of elemental motes or energy that you will find out in the wild from various plants, animals, and mining nodes, and make sure you pick up all these because you will need them. You have to pay 1 orb to enter the dungeon, but only 1 person in your group has to pay, so you will need these eventually. There are a few quest lines that lead to certain low level ones and high level ones. There are several quests in Amrine to get you extra tuning orbs available in Windsward and Everfall, but they unlock after you complete the side stories within the zone. So you need to go through the zone specifically, complete the side stories, and then unlock the ability to get the quest for the tuning orb. The same applies for zones like Shattered Mountain and Eden's Grove, where you can unlock quests for Garden of Genesis, and even quests for Reekwater as well, like the Lazarus Instrumentality, which is the hardest dungeon in the game, as well as the arenas like Eternal Pool and Siren Queen's Arena. So simply to unlock these, do all the quests in a given region, and then you will unlock a quest for a dungeon that most likely is available in that region. There are some special ones that come from the Shattered Mountain that ask you to go other places, but that's not something to worry about until you're level 60. But there are quite a few free tuning orbs available in this regard. There are 2 total free for the Garden of Genesis late game in dungeon. There is 1 for every arena: the Protector's Arena, the Siren's Arena, and the Spriggan's Arena, which is in Eden's Grove. And then there are 2 available free tuning orbs for the Lazarus Instrumentality late game dungeon. Cooking ingredients are specific to a region. As you can see here, I gather ginger and tarragon, which is specifically located in the Reekwater region. There are other types that are found in various places, but the best way to find this out would be to simply Google New World Database and go to the nwdb.info website and look up specifically where each cooking ingredient comes from. That way you do not spend hours searching for something that doesn't exist in the region that you're at. There are also some cooking ingredients that come solely and specifically from provision crates, so be sure to keep on the lookout for those. The gear score of the items that you find is determined by what you have found previously in the world. Some monsters have some threshold of items that increase the odds of these items being up higher gear score, and the monster's level is also going to determine what is the maximum gear score range this monster can drop something in, all the way up to 600 gear score scaling. But each slot is specific, so if you find 562 gloves, your odds of getting an increase will be higher. You will now have a chance to get 565 or 570 gloves into the future. And most gloves that you find will probably be around this skill level if you are killing a monster of the appropriate loot table level. So for 550 plus items, you would have to kill monsters above level 60 in order to see access to those things. You can also determine this by around your loot level if you're leveling up. So if you're killing level 30 mobs, that may be somewhere in the 200 to 300 range of gear score, and so on and so forth. So every time you find an item, like you get it from a treasure chest or a monster, you are increasing your gear score. It is going up, and you will be finding better items as time goes on. Your luck stat increases the rate at which you find rare items. So when you have luck, what it does is when you would find a white item, it has a chance to roll up into a green item, which has more perks on it. And then it has another chance to roll up into a blue, into a purple, into a legendary, finally at the higher gear scores. So what does this mean? Having luck on all your pieces and your bags and some of your jewelry can increase your odds to find these upgraded components. Do keep in mind that this has nothing to do with gear score, and the gear score of the item will remain unaffected. There are a few factors that come into play when you talk about gathering professions and trade skills, and here we will have an example of a mining luck set. So luck would determine the amount of rare, epic, or legendary components you would find from a specific node. And as you can see, I have a full set of gear and also a food buff that increases mining luck by 2,000. What this actually means is 20% mining luck, so don't pay attention to that big number. We also have a proficiency booster, which increases the amount of resources we get when we do find them. So not every time you mine something, you're going to get something good. But the higher your skill chance, you will also increase the odds at finding something. So if I were to find something like iron at my 200 skill level, I would be much more likely to find gems and precious materials. So here we'll go ahead and give an example of trying to mine something, as it will not always turn out the way you want. Remember that luck is not absolute, it is just a percent chance. And here we will only get orichalcum from a vein specifically. However, you can get lucky and find others. Sometimes you can really get lucky and find legendary components, such as tolvium, as well as a slew of other gems and rare materials. So make sure you stack your luck and increase your odds at finding those valuable items. When it comes to storage, you have a few options. When you are at any storage, you can search for other items by simply selecting the drop-down box at the top and selecting the storage in which you want to search. And then I could type in something like the word gem or tannin or whatever it is that I want to search, and I can find things of that nature. So it can be a quick way to sort of see what you have in a zone before you travel there. You can also do this from the map directly by mousing over the town and hitting my storage, and you will be able to see and search for a particular item. So if I want to know what potions I have or health potions, I can find exactly that. In addition to that, you can transfer over materials. If I were to take this item from, let's say, Windsward, and I want 3 silver ore, I can transfer this over for a small fee directly to my bag. Make sure you check that fee, because some items with big weight can cause a very big fee. As you can see, this is 100 gold to transfer my orichalcum ingots, which is probably not the best idea, so I may want to go there directly and pick them up myself, since they do weigh quite a lot. Houses and trophies play a big part in this game. When you own a house, you can fast travel to that house, and you can also refresh that house's fast travel cooldown. So it's like having a second Hearthstone. When you enter your house, you can decorate your house with trophies, and you can have up to 5 slots. You can have various buffs like gathering buffs, regular luck, and even trade skill buffs. And some of these are quite generous, as these buffs on the gathering trophies can be upwards of 5%, 10%, and even 15% luck to a given area that you're trying to find items in. And you can also get trophies that do damage to enemies, like corrupted specific trophies that deal damage to corrupted type monsters and angry earth and every other enemy category within the game. So make sure to have a house, and most importantly have 3 houses, because that is the maximum you can have, and put trophies in every single house that you do own. The auction house or trading post in this game can be quite daunting when you first look at it. However, it is broken down into 2 simple sections. That will be sell orders, which is when you place an item on the auction house for a price that you wish to sell it at, and someone else can purchase that item, and a buy order, which is where you place gold into the auction house and determine a price that you wish to buy an item for, and other players can instantly sell you that item. So let's go ahead and take a look at both of those functions, as here we will enter the sell order for something. So if I were to sell these pair of boots, I would pay, or I would set my price, so I could say 100 or 200 or whatever I want to do. So we'll say 100 for now. I would then pay the taxes of the land, or that is going to be determined from the region, whoever owns it, your faction or company. And this one is set at 5%, therefore I would pay 5 gold. And then my final return would be 95 gold as listed down here. You can increase the quantity of the item if you have multiples of this and place many up at a time, which is very useful for ingredients and essence and things of that nature. But we also have a day functionality down here, which will determine the amount of time that a item is listed on the auction house, which will also increase or lower the listing fee depending on how long you wish to have this item on the auction house. The flip side of that would be the buy order, where I can place an order and say that, oh yes, I want to buy this item at 100 gold. So if anybody has this, then I can purchase this item. So I would give the auction house 100 gold, and they would automatically buy this item for me if someone has it and wishes to sell it at that price. When it comes to gear, you can also move the slider to indicate the gear score in which you want to buy this item at. So if you want an item that's only 600, you can list it at 600. And this is specific to actual gear items. Other things like moats and food products and potions will not have this indicator. They will just have the quantity indicator as well. And you can also look for certain perks. So I can say, if I want this item to have a specific perk like crit perk or something like that, then I can search for that. But as this is a green or a common item, it's not going to have any perks. And I can also look for gem sockets. So I can say, oh, I want it to have an empty socket or something of that nature. I can also specify this specifically. Stamina is very important in combat. When you deplete your stamina, you enter a gray recharge state, which basically lets your stamina bar fill back up, but at a much slower rate. During that time, you cannot dodge or block, and you cannot climb up things like obstacles. So make sure that you never hit that bottom out gray state, and just try to leave yourself with a little bit of stamina available, and then patiently wait to roll or block until your stamina gauge is back up to full. Did you know that you can move faster with light armor? If you have the light armor category, you can do what's called a weapon roll swap mechanic, which we would simply dodge and then swap our weapons or sheath our weapon. So there's two options to do this. At first, you would dodge and switch your weapon to the other weapon, which would continue your momentum and allow you to move forward, and this is faster than running. So you can get from point A to point B before all of your friends. You can also, alternatively, roll and sheath your weapon, which does the exact same thing and will continue your momentum. Keep in mind that for melee combat, a back attack is always a critical hit. As demonstrated here, all of my attacks will be critical, as demonstrated by orange, unless I get to the side of the monster, in which they will no longer be critical. But hitting the monster directly from behind will trigger a critical hit. For ranged attacks, a headshot is also a critical hit. So there's a few ways that you can deal with this, as better aim and better accuracy and maneuverability will allow you to put out more damage. However, do keep in mind that spells will not critically hit regardless if hit in the head or in the back, and the only way to get a multiplier from that would be the actual stat bonus from critical hit chance. Blocking and dodging is an important mechanic in combat. As you can see here, I have a wolf monster that is attempting to attack me, and I will take damage if he hits me. However, if I block, I instead take stamina damage, and not a lot of people make use of this function. The white flash on the wolf indicates a grit move, which does more stamina damage to your bar. As you can see here, he took over half my bar with that special move. But normal attacks are not too much of a problem, as I can simply hold my guard. And this works with all weapons, not just a shield, but also with an axe, with a staff, and other things of that nature. So if you can, make sure to block and attack, or simply dodge out of the way. Both are great options, as you can easily do so in both regards. As you can see, I can avoid his charged attack there. So just kind of weigh your options and play around with your combat mechanics. Remember that just spamming DPS will result in you trading a lot of damage directly, where you could get a hit or two in and then block, another hit or two, block again, and another hit or two, and then block again. And there, my health bar would not go down, and thus making me more effective when it comes to leveling and just combat in general. Monsters in this game have certain damage type resistances, as well as weaknesses. If I go up to attack this ghost, I can see that he took blue damage, which means that he took reduced damage from the thrusting style attack. There are many different types of attacks, both physical and elemental. The sword has slashing and thrusting style attacks, so you can mix it up with one of the two. And if we take a look at this corrupted type enemy, if I were to use a thrust style attack, he would then take increased damage from it, as indicated here by the yellow marker. that means that he is taking bonus damage from this attack. And if I hit him with a normal slash attack, he is taking regular damage, which is white. Any orange damage that pops up is a critical hit or a backstab. If I go around to the back of the monster there, you can see I can score a critical hit on the back of him. So keep in mind that blue means that you're doing reduced damage, yellow means that you're doing increased damage, and regular white means that you're doing normal damage. Any orange is a critical hit. There are two major types of affliction within the game. The first one is the corrupted affliction, which comes from the corrupted portals and also various corrupted ground. As you can see, this sort of destroyed, desolated area here will lower my corruption resistance the longer I am in it, thus making me take damage at the end of the tick. So that is the corruption resistance mechanic, and the value will be higher based on the level of the zone and the level of the corruption. You can get a potion to reduce this damage and also to reset your resistance bar, and you can craft several of these to kind of keep yourself sustained. The second type of major affliction would be Blight, which Blight will tick down constantly, and once you reach 0, instead of taking damage, you will get a debuff on you, a very nasty one that will last 3 minutes, and it will reduce all healing that you take and deal a percentage of your maximum health every second or so. This can be quite devastating, so the only way to get rid of that Blight affliction would be to use a potion or a tincture to cure the affliction and reset your resistance up, or simply wait out the 3 minutes while you heal yourself and desperately try to stay alive. Trust me, that one is not fun. These afflictions get a lot worse in the higher levels towards the late game, and the lower levels they are not as bad, as they are quite less tuned down. But do keep in mind that these are a thing, and eventually you may want gear and consumables that are equipped to dealing with these type of afflictions. Alright, thank you for watching, everyone. I hope that these tips and tricks help you along the way, and if you find anything else interesting that you feel that somebody else should know, please feel free to put that down in the comment sections below, as we have a ton of community here that would love to know these types of things, and anything that you can share will definitely help someone out along the way. So I appreciate you taking the time to watch this, and do remember that if you have not subscribed, liked, or hit the bell already, please do so, as you will keep up to date with content like this that may help you in the long run for New World related things. We also have a join button, which has a membership with tons of benefits, perks, emojis, and badges, and cool things like that, so you can check that out if you're interested in supporting the channel further. We also have a Discord where I give out all my gold secrets and in-game secrets and all kinds of cool stuff like that, as well as a community that you can discuss with about tons of good events going on in New World and what's happening right now. So make sure to join that community so that you can stay in touch and be on top of your game. Thanks for watching. I appreciate everyone's time, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. We will catch you in the next video.